coming to you from the chill city of board gaming, Omaha, Nebraska. Welcome to the Out of the Dust podcast. I'm your host, Laidback Bryce. Tied in with a popular recurring Out of the Dust geek list on Board Game Geek, the Out of the Dust podcast is a weekly podcast that is focused on re-exploring games we play that we hadn't previously played in a year or more. Why did the game get dusty? Why did you decide to dust it off? How does the game compare to how you remembered it? Are you likely to play it more often in the future? These are the questions that we're interested in examining on Out of the Dust. This week on the podcast, episode 49. On the Out of the Dust segment, I'll bring number 9 out of the dust, and a contributor will dust off Lords of Vegas. On the reaction segment, I discuss the BGG Makeover. On the What I've Been Playing segment, I review Horrified. On the Obscure Bryce Game segment, I review Symphony No.9. And we wrap up the episode by seeing where Echidna Shuffle is now. I had a chance to bring number 9, the 2017 three-dimensional abstract tile-laying game from publisher Abakuspiel and designer Peter Wuckman out of the dust recently. I last played it 1 year, 4 months, and 4 days ago. I played it several times when it first came out because I had several friends in various game groups that owned it, and we found it worked well in a variety of groups and circumstances. But I didn't add it to my own collection until a recent half-price book sale. It was one of those games that, since I knew so many people that owned it, I wasn't in a rush to own it myself unless the right deal came along. Half price on an already reduced price on the last day of the half-price book sale was finally too good to pass up, and I brought the game out of the dust to teach my wife and oldest son. They both like tile-laying games, and this was right up their alley. It's an easy teach and the sort of game that is quick to catch on to, as strategies and risk-reward analysis quickly become apparent. My wife and son enjoyed it quite a bit, and it's racked up many plays since the initial teach. For myself, I still think this is a clever and innovative tile-laying game. Laying the groundwork for a huge play later in the game and then having just the right tile card get flipped when your opponent didn't prepare for it is very satisfying. I don't foresee this getting dusty again anytime soon. Let's see what a contributor brought out of the dust. David Fox, username Quaid, brought Lords of Vegas out of the dust recently. Lords of Vegas is a well-regarded 2010 publication from Mayfair Games and acclaimed designers James Ernest and Mike Selinker. David last played this city-building area control game 2 years, 3 months, and 23 days ago and currently rates it a 7 out of 10. He writes, "There was a double play of this at my game group a couple of years ago which, despite organizing, I didn't get a chance to participate in. A new member requested the game, so I was happy to revive it once more. It's a good design, which addresses its fairly large luck aspect very well. So well that I'm happy with it, win or lose. I managed to steal a 7-space casino with just 2 versus 5 dice, and would have won had it not been for the one aspect I don't like. The end-of-game card, 4 players at least, comes up unevenly, so 2 players got an extra turn. There aren't that many turns in Lords of Vegas that this is not insignificant. I might just deal out stacks next time to make sure it's even, but it says something for the rest of the design that this is what bugs me and not the luck." Thanks for the contribution, David. Lords of Vegas is one of the highest-ranked games on BGG that I haven't had a chance to ever play. It's just one of those games that has slipped through the cracks somehow for me. The mechanisms and designer pedigree suggest I'd like it quite a bit, though. Reaction segment time. A hot topic of conversation the last couple of weeks has been the BoardGameGeek.com redesign. Well, I don't want to be left out of the conversation, so I guess I might as well chime in too. The main part of the redesign is on the front page. There's a new color scheme, the menu buttons are in a little different spot and enhanced. The quick links are off to the side now, and the overall presentation is slightly different. But honestly, I didn't even notice those changes right away because, in my opinion, they're not very dramatic ones. I would agree with the user that said, "Good job on the update, BGG. Now you look like a website from 2009 instead of 1999. The graphic design of BGG never really bothered me, though. Like Reddit, once you get used to the site, you find it organized in a logical way and the content easy to access. No, it wasn't until I tried to use my quick links that I realized something had changed. But I think I like them off to the side. Like many things, the hardest part of this change is adapting to it and figuring out how to use all the features all over again. But I'm hopeful that once I do, I will discover the process more user-friendly and even more logical than before. That new logo, though. Oh man, count me among the "what were they thinking" crowd. I got a lot of enjoyment out of the numerous threads trying to figure out what exactly the new logo was. And when people told me that it was a stylized silhouette of the old logo, my response was the same as many others. No, really, what is it supposed to be? There are many people who are tired of talking about the new logo already, but there are many more that can't get enough, which is evidenced by the new threads that keep popping up about it. It's just so fantastic. There has been so much pushback against this logo that I can't help but wonder if BGG is having second thoughts about it. Though they did just release a line of apparel featuring the new logo. But let's see if they restock that apparel if it eventually sells out. This week on the What I Have Been Playing segment, I'm going to tell you about Horrified, the new classic movie monster-themed cooperative game from publisher Ravensburger and the design team at Prospero Hall. At a casual glance, there's not much to this game, and it wasn't actually on my radar at all. But my friend Warren brought it back from Gen Con, and several games later, I'm hooked! Here's how it works. At the beginning of the game, players select between 2 to 4 monsters to face, depending on the difficulty desired. Each player is a hero inspired by classic monster movie tropes that has a certain number of action points assigned to them and a special ability. On their turn, players will use these action points to move around the board, pick up items, escort villagers to safety, and advance the defeat condition of the monsters in play. After each hero turn, the monsters get a turn, the monster actions dictated by drawing the top card of the monster deck. These cards might move monsters around the board or activate their unique special abilities. Anytime a monster moves into a hero or villager space, a fight is triggered. If a player doesn't have enough items to soak up the monster's damage dealt, which is dictated by the roll of 1 or more dice, they get knocked out, moved to the hospital, and the terror track is advanced by 1. The terror track is also advanced by 1 anytime a villager takes damage, which kills them. If the terror track is advanced all the way to the end, the players lose. The players win if they manage to meet the unique defeat conditions of all the monsters in play. This is easier said than done, and I have not won a game yet. This is a challenging co-op and very addicting because of its difficulty. The huge number of different monster combinations in each game, combined with the huge number of different hero abilities in play, make the game very replayable. Fortunately, this gameplay is not wasted because of the genuinely fun mechanics of the game. The action point allowance system is straightforward but effective in this game. There are lots of great decisions to make, and players will find themselves wondering what they could have done differently at the end of the game after the monsters have killed everyone again. The theme is fun too, and one that hasn't been presented in this way before. The theme also sets itself up for a lot of expansion potential in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see one for this game sooner rather than later. Obscure Bryce game segment time. This week on the segment, I'm going to tell you about Symphony No.9, a late 2018 release from publisher Moidius and designers Frank Liu and Hongyang Shen. This is a game that has definitely flown under the radar since its release and is currently racking up less than 20 log plays a month. Part of this is because the designers are not well known. Frank has a short list of published games, all obscure, but Symphony No.9 is Hongyang's first published game. Part of the game's obscurity undoubtedly comes from the theme. Music is a sadly under-tapped theme in board games. And part of this obscurity is due to the publisher being from Taiwan. They have some well-respected games in their catalog, but none of them became well-respected until they were picked up by other companies. Tasty Minstrel seems to work with them quite often, so maybe Symphony No.9 will be a more publicized release at a later date. Because the game does warrant it. Here's how it works. Players are patrons of classic composers investing in their music. Each round, players will take turns drafting influence cubes from a popularity track for each musician. Drafting more than 2 cubes costs players extra money. Whoever has the most cubes for a musician gets a piece of music from that musician and then loses half of their influence cubes. Then the musicians are ranked in popularity order depending on their unique popularity tracks, the numbers of which are not arranged in sequential order. Then, players secretly bid an amount of money to determine if a concert occurs and which musicians are featured in it. The total amount of money bid amongst all the players determines this. A concert might feature just the most popular musician, the middle 3, or the 2 least popular ones. Players earn money for having influence cubes of the musicians performing that round. It's also possible that no concert is performed, in which case no one earns any money at all. After 6 rounds, players tally up their points based upon the sheets of music that they have won. At its heart, the game is a stock game, but a stock game where each stock scores differently. One musician might score a straight-up quantity of points for each piece of music a player possesses, while another might score a certain number of points for each piece of music a player possesses based on the quantity of musicians who had their popularity tracks completely emptied of cubes during the course of the game. The game revolves around this very fascinating and unique mechanic. Timing is essential as players try to gauge what sheets of music they can win when, and if those sheets of music are likely to score them more points than others at the end of the game. I dig this game a lot, and it's quickly become one of my favorite stock games since acquiring it. The theme is unique, and both theme and mechanics are reminiscent of another favorite obscure Bryce game, Opera. The way each musician scores points is randomly determined each game, so the game is very replayable. I really like trying to figure out the puzzle of which musicians to invest in as the game unfolds. I also really like how the popularity tracks work. One side of the track boards features just a bunch of numbers arranged in a random order for each musician, but the other side features a historical arrangement that mirrors the ebbs and flows of each musician's actual popularity during their real life. That's a very cool little detail that I really appreciate. I'm bringing back the Where is the Game Now segment for a few weeks with a new spin. Instead of looking at popular games released 1 or 5 years ago and analyzing some stats about them, I'm going to take a look at some of the new, freshly released games I learned 1 or 5 years ago and see how they've fared in my collection and on BGG in general. We'll start with the cutest game ever released, Echidna Shuffle, a family-weight pick-up and deliver game from publisher Watzelpoag and designer Chris Gold. Seriously, if you've never seen this game in person, go look at some pics online right now. The component quality is ridiculously amazing. This came out a year ago, and I got a free copy from the publisher in exchange for doing a release day demo on behalf of the promotional organization Envoy. I played Echidna Shuffle 10 times the first month I owned it, and 4 times since, which ties me for first overall in the world in most logged plays for the game. That's actually fairly periodic play for a game in my collection. There's a bunch I cycle through with my kids and my family, and Echidna Shuffle has returned to the table with them more often than most. It's also been a popular demo choice for my sons and I when we demo games at various local events. It has tremendous table presence and always attracts a crowd. I enjoy the game quite a bit and I'm always happy to bring it to the table. It's also become one of my go-to recommendations for parents looking for something that they can have a fun time playing with their kids. It's not the sort of family game that parents will suffer through. It's a genuinely satisfying logistical puzzle, and the BGG population at large appears to agree. Echidna Shuffle has enjoyed a consistent quantity of logged plays each month since its release. For a game that many perceive as strictly a children's game, it's doing exceptionally well in the logged play stats since many BGG users are embarrassed about logging plays of kid games. But make no mistake, Echidna Shuffle is a rewarding gameplay experience with any crowd, and is a hoot with hardcore gamers. The game can get quite ruthless at the right table. I think Echidna Shuffle will continue to do well. Watzelpoag is a small publisher, but has been around for a while and has a respectable quantity of games in its stable. But Echidna Shuffle is already one of their most successful titles, judging by overall BGG ranking and some other favorable stats. It currently enjoys a 5-to-1 want-in trade to 4 trade ratio, and while it appears in 395 logged collections, it only appears as a previously owned title 9 times, which is a tremendous ratio. I've been seeing more and more people doing favorable reviews of this game, including multiple recent Dice Tower reviews, so I think people will continue to find out about this game and give it a spin in one setting or another. Well, that will do it for episode 49. Thanks for listening. Feel free to join the Out of the Dust Podcast Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at OutOfTheDustBGG. Leave a comment at the Guild. PM me on BGG under user handle Radagast14. Or email me at radagast14@CenturyLink.net. And join the Out of the Dust conversation yourself at our monthly geek list at BGG. Alright, play me out, Tananda!